anywhere we want to be, it's prime time with George Durunda. Tonight, anti-deafness sound expert Jeffrey St. Lawrence. We attend a cooking class with Chef Larry Tollen. Plus, Jimmy Sturr and the Jimmy Sturr Band. So get ready for the most entertaining show on television. Hi, I'm George Durunda, and welcome to Primetime. And you know, if you're sitting at home and you're feeling an extra special something in the air, it could be radon. But you know what is really in the air? It's the smell of good food. So let's head up to Atkins Fruit Bowl and Chef Larry Tollen and his cooking class. Well, Larry, welcome to the big program. And I understand we're going to be cooking.
We're going to cook tonight, George. We're going to do some serious cooking.
A special feast just for me.
Just for you, exactly right. I have heard that you have more food per minute than any other non-cooking show.
On television today.
On television, we're going to try and produce at least another 50 or 60 pounds in the next few minutes for you here, so that...
And I'm ready to eat every pound.
That's it.
now, what do we have on the agenda? We have...
This is a pork loin roast. This has been boned. Here, we can open this up. We need to work with this. All right, this is actually a hack. When you would go to a butcher, the whole thing with bones, this is where they cut your pork chops from. Mm-hmm. And it's about twice this long. Okay.
Now, how do you stuff a pork?
You're gonna see that right now.
Over
We've got a little bit of extra fat here that we really don't need. So we take our knife and we trim this off.
Isn't that the best part?
Well, it makes the meat nice and juicy and tender, but we don't want too much because we don't want a real greasy roast either by that same token. Our stuffing, our apricot stuffing that's going in here contains butter, and that will also help to keep our meat nice and moist. As you can see, there's some beautiful veins of fat running through the meat. I don't think we're going to have to worry too much about this tasting nice and tender.
Now, you run these cooking classes on a regular basis?
Yes, we do. Atkins offers these.
And your students have agreed to appear on television?
It's unbelievable, but nobody asked for their money back, even when they found out it was you who were coming down here to do this show with us.
And why should they? They should be honored. After all, I am an international food expert.
That is correct. Well, that's what I told them, that you were a gourmet par excellence and had gotten wind of what we were doing here and wanted to come see.
Just be careful with that.
How do we stuff a pork? That's what you want to know.
How do we stuff a pork?
We're going to butterfly. You'll remember from the matembre we did last week.
Butterfly.
This one, unlike the flank steak we did the other week, we're going to do in thirds. We need to open this up more than just in half. And you'll see that I don't really worry about this being necessarily even. Our tying this together will take care of any irregularities we have.
And what are we stuffing our pork with?
We're stuffing this with an apricot stuffing. This is apricots, butter, port wine, breadcrumbs, green pepper, a little bit of celery. This is a particularly fatty one. Normally it's not quite so fatty. Don't hesitate, like I say, to trim this out. Your guests do not want big pieces of fat on their plate. This is a dish that we're going to end up, when we're done, George, slicing and arranging on a tray. The class tonight is concentrating on buffet service, setting up a festive buffet.
A gourmet buffet.
That is correct. That is correct. And actually, you've caught us on the second part of a 2-week class that we're involved in. Because you couldn't be here last week, I have made some of those same dishes that we had done last week, the mushrooms that everyone liked, and some of the other things, so that we can fully garnish.
I missed the mushrooms?
Well, you're going to get them, though, George. I made them for this class. All right. You see we had that little piece that fell off? Yeah. Just open that up. We're going to use that right
I was going to ask you that. What do you do? Have you ever really messed something up real bad?
Oh, yeah.
And you had customers waiting for it? What do you do then?
You put sauce on it. You cover it with sauce.
Cover up all your mistakes.
Yes, I've worked with a number of chefs, and there were times I questioned, in fact, what we were doing, and they just wanted to know, is the sauce good? And I told them, yes, the sauce is fine. Fine, put sauce on it, and out it goes. We're going to make sure people get what they're expecting.
So is that common in all restaurants when you're paying for those $60
well,
dinners?
I can say that it's common in all restaurants. My colleagues are going to hang me if I make a statement like that.
Well,
but,
everybody must make mistakes, and what do you do when you have the customer outside waiting? And
that's also what the maitre d' is for. This is why the chef stays in the back, and they have a guy who's very suave and wears a nice suit who can go out there and buy them a drink or buy them dessert, or sometimes they have to buy them the whole dinner to make the guest happy. I'm sure that...
but if there's sauce, be suspicious.
That's it. So do yourself a favor.
That's the trick.
Don't order too many dishes with sauce, is I guess the moral of this whole story. This needs a little bit more moisture. Reach for our port wine. Someone, my hands are a little slippery now. Thank you there, Walter. Go ahead. Splash a couple ounces.
Walter.
How to do that.
One,
Oh,
two.
a professional.
Good. All right.
Left-handed, too.
Here's our stuffing. You can see it's a nice consistency. It holds itself together at this point. We'll put this in here very liberally. All right, or like we're going to be doing one of our desserts this evening. We just roll this over. We're going to tie it with the cord. That's great.
And where did this recipe originate, or is it one of your originals?
I learned this from a chef at a country club outside of Philadelphia. He used prunes, not apricots. About 10 years ago. So I've been carrying this one around with me. He served his with sauerkraut, which I actually recommend on here, and it sounds awful. It was great.
Pork and sauerkraut?
Yeah, but with the prunes and all, it sounded awful to me when he told me what the dinner special was that night. But I've been a big convert ever since. I've been really impressed with what goes on.
Bittersweet and sour.
So, at this point, we tie off our meat. We're going to do this the exact same way we did
I've
the
had dreams of
tempeh.
that. Okay, Debbie's going to tie up this primetime pork.
Yes?
Well, let's see what happens when you pull it off.
Oh, nothing. Can I cheat?
Didn't work, did it? Okay,
No.
watch. You had it basically right, you just didn't twist it. When you go here, you got to twist it. You went on this side.
Go underneath?
You got to go underneath. Okay?
I'll do one more.
And then you do the next. I did one. You just watched up close. Go ahead.
Okay, Debbie's ready.
No, I'm not sure. Underneath.
I'm right behind
Be
you.
behind me.
Okay.
Underneath? No.
Now you're going to take it. Hold it. Hold your hand this way. Take the other hand like this. Underneath. Yeah. How do I do that?
Uh-oh, Larry's confused now.
Wait a minute, wait a
One
minute.
of those things you just do. I don't think about it too much anymore.
I've always done it separately, that's why.
You got it.
There it is. Yeah! A round of applause for Debbie.
Kitchen Bouquet is a trade name product, and what this is, like I say, is caramelized vegetables is all that's in here.
Is it like a barbecue sauce?
No, it has virtually no flavor. It's a color that gives you just that nice dark brown on the outside of the roast.
Ooh,
Okay.
look, it looks ready to eat already.
You see?
Calm down, George.
And there's the meat, and there's the oven,
And there it
and
is.
there it goes, and it's in. And is the oven turned down to
Great.
325? I believe we did that. Very good.
Great job, Walter.
For business.
Do you feel like you could take these things and go home in 3.5 hours you could whip up a gourmet
Probably.
dinner like this?
Probably not all of these recipes, but 2 of them out of the 10.
And you can invite me over to compare?
Absolutely. After I finish the next 3, you're invited to my house for dinner. How's that? I have 3 more classes to go.
You heard it.
And I would love that.
What was your favorite part of the class so far?
Let's see. Well, last week was our first class. Debbie and I are new to this. All of it, to tell you the truth. The mushrooms was my favorite. The mushroom dish.
And we'll be sampling those later?
Yes, oh yes. Yes, because he did make them up again tonight.
So, Debbie, you're a newcomer to the course, too?
Yes, I am. I'm enjoying every minute of it.
And you enjoyed the mushrooms?
They were excellent. They were excellent. You will enjoy them. You will want 3 or 4 of them. We only got 1 each.
Why?
Well, that's all we made, just for all of us. But
Well,
just-
I hope we
yes.
have extras for me.
Oh, of course, I hope so. I hope we all do. They were so good.
And is there any one goal you
Lemon ride.
plan to achieve by taking these courses?
Any one goal.
What did you really want to learn to make the most?
Scant cup of sugar.
Learn to make the most, everything, not just one thing. It's just a variety of things that's so interesting. And just to watch Larry work, like I said, last week was our first time here, and he was just excellent in explaining, and if we don't have exactly, you can improvise.
And will I be invited over to your home for dinner?
Uh-oh, Carol. Of course.
This will be a joint venture. Debbie
Yes,
and I will
yes,
do this
a joint.
together, and we'll invite.
And we'll bring the primetime viewers into your homes.
Sure, why not?
And Walter, you're from Chicopee. You're an avid viewer of primetime?
Yeah, yeah.
And,
You, Jet Dragon.
and how long have you been taking this course?
This is my 5th week.
This is your fifth week.
Yeah.
So you're an expert. You're ready to graduate.
Well, I don't know about an expert, but that's up to Larry, whether I graduate or not.
And so, having a little more time invested, what was your favorite dish that you've prepared?
Oh, jeez. Shrimp and zucchini. The zucchini boats with shrimp. You'd like that one. That shrimp and breadcrumbs and
Well,
little olive
you've
oil.
noticed my food escapades on television.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I made some at home, but I put wine in mine, actually.
Oh. we can improvise. We've learned that from Larry.
Right, yeah.
And
What are you doing with the knife?
and am I invited over to your house, Walter, since you live right in Chicopee?
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, Larry, I see this massive array in front of us.
That is correct.
Everything that we've prepared in the last few hours, of course, the folks at home didn't even get a glimpse of all
No.
the fun you can have in a
That's
cooking
right.
class.
If they want to see what kind of fun, they're going to have to come in and sign up for a class and experience it firsthand. It's hard, even through the media of TV, to really get
absolutely.
them to understand how much fun we have and all the work we do.
Now, tell me, let's recap. Let's describe everything we have
Sure,
here.
no problem. We'll start off on my left, and we have a tray of fresh mozzarella, plum tomatoes. This is called mozzarella basilica. We have our spectacular watermelon peacock with fresh fruit. We have a minted raspberry sauce that we'll be serving with the fruit this evening. Here we have some Tuscany toast, an Italian-style toast. This will be accompanying the cheese dish. We have some very elegant cheese pastries we made. We have a lemon curd tart with fresh fruit. Okay. Below
And the
us-
fruit is suspended right on top.
that is correct. It's suspended and then glazed with a little clear apple jelly. We have a chocolate cherry roulade beneath us. Here we have our centerpiece. We have a roasted pork loin stuffed with apricot stuffing, and it's garnished with Caleb's mushrooms, and that's laid out on our mirror. We have a Cumberland sauce to accompany that.
And what do you call these mushrooms again?
Caleb's mushrooms. Those are named after my son.
Was he involved in the creation?
I created these at a little party we were having a number of years ago. Caleb was about 1.5 to 2, and most 1.5-year-olds, 2-year-olds, they're not interested in mushrooms. He absolutely adored these and used to ask for them all the time.
The name is appropriate.
The name is appropriate. Here we have a blanched vegetable tray with a basil vinaigrette that we've laid out here. And our one last dessert the viewers don't get to see, we're saving that as a special treat for you, George.
A private dessert.
A private
You can
dessert.
only dream of having this much
That is
fun.
right. The semifreddo that we made, they don't get to see the finished presentation on that. They're going to have to come and take a class if they really want to see what that's like.
And I'm sure they can just call you and...
They can call me up.
Classes
Exactly.
are ongoing.
Classes are ongoing. Give a call, and we'll get you signed up and get you in here and teach you how to do some of the things that we do here.
Well, I'm ready to dig in. Hey, you can do whatever you want. I'm eating. That's all the fun that there is left in this show. We'll be right back after a short pause.
one of us, the few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to the program. My next guest is an audio genius. His innovations could save the hearing of millions. Yes, let's meet Jeffrey St. Lawrence. Well, Jeff, welcome to Primetime.
Thank you very much, George. It's a pleasure to be here.
And I've been looking forward for a long time to do this segment. You are an audio expert.
Well, thank you very much.
And when did you start to get into researching audio problems?
When I realized there was a problem being caused to the hearing, I decided to try to investigate the issue on my own and see whether or not anything could be done about it. So I worked for the HADLEY Sound Company as their resident technical advisor. They're the company that did sound for Woodstock, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Diana Ross, and a list too long to mention. My private reason for being there was to study the equipment that was in use, to see if I could get any hints as to how to redesign it in order to make the sound safe to listen to.
Now that seems to be a problem when we go to concerts. It's not so much the loud levels, but the improper equipment and the improper management of the way they're running this equipment.
That's right. Until very recently, the deafness problem being caused in concerts was thought attributed to the decibel level alone. And it's my work that shows that it's more due to the contamination that results as using too small of a bass loudspeaker.
Too small of a bass loudspeaker?
Yes, that's right.
Because I notice a lot of companies are miniaturizing.
These are days when we love to miniaturize, isn't it true?
But there are certain things that can't be miniaturized.
There are certain things that if they depend upon their size in order to work, then you can't make them smaller and expect them to still work. My favorite one to show a person the comparison to is the pipe in a church organ. Most everybody knows that the tallest pipe in a church organ has the deepest tone. And of course that's always going to be the same. So you wouldn't then call a pipe organ builder, would you, and tell him, now these are the days of miniaturization, and I want you to build a pipe that's only half as tall but have a sound that's twice as tall come out of it.
So there are certain laws of physics that certainly cannot be ignored.
The particular region of physical science that this comes under in engineering is called the laws of resonance. That is, a larger thing has a deeper tone, like for instance, a snare drum and a kettle drum. Everybody knows the kettle drum has a deeper tone. It happens because of its size. Its size is the thing that makes it deeper. And this is the same law that's followed by speakers also.
And you have here a 30-inch speaker.
To show a good demonstration of how making a larger speaker makes the tone better, and ultimately it makes the sound waves safe to listen to.
Now what causes this, as opposed a 15-inch speaker as opposed to a 30-inch speaker? Are you feeding the same amount of power into each speaker?
No.
You're not?
No.
Does the 30-inch speaker take more power?
No.
It takes less power?
It takes less power. And we're going to demonstrate that in a few minutes.
And it emits a cleaner sound.
It actually does, because it remains undistorted from overdriving. The thing is, when you have to turn the volume power up so high to make up for a speaker being too small, the sound wave becomes contaminated, and that makes an extra pressure against what's within the ear, which are sometimes called either the stereocilia or the auditory hairs. These are inside. A lot of people realize that we have an eardrum, so let's start there because that's easier. It's not the eardrum that's actually hearing the sound. The sound has to go past the eardrum and past three little bones on the inside, but the actual sensors of the sound itself are within the cochlea, which is a snail-shaped device with a tube that goes around and up and then down. Inside of this tube are like little hairs, which are almost like little feeling fingers that only vibrate at a certain frequency, and they're all a different length, so they each have a different frequency at which they vibrate at. But if they get bent over for any reason, then they can no longer resonate at the frequency that they were supposed to, and this is permanent deafness. This is the reason that high impact sound level waves coming in concerts have become dangerous.
That's why your ears, you come out and your ears are ringing.
Your ears are ringing, and also it kind of feels like you have cotton around your head. can't hear things very well, and people have to talk louder before they can understand. You can understand what it is they're trying to say. This is called cumulative threshold shift of hearing, and most of it is happening as a result of this extra contamination wave that gets onto the sound from the people who have the sound company using too small of a bass loudspeaker. When we eliminate this extra noise, then the sound becomes safe and much more pleasant to listen to, and that's what this system here that I've built demonstrates.
Is that why a smaller speaker, you will see more cone excursion than on a larger speaker, even as a 10 opposed to a 15?
When we go to turn up the sound on a stereo in a home, we usually turn it up to the sound where it sounds comfortable, where we can hear some of the bass and the rest of the instruments performing. And it's when you turn it up and you're using a very large, low-frequency speaker, you don't have to turn it up and use as high of a volume level because the speaker is more efficient in that range, so it can give you more bass to begin with. Therefore, you don't have to crank it, so to speak, and overdrive it in order to get the sound wave contaminated, and then it becomes harmful to your hearing, yes.
So we can visibly see the difference between a 15 putting out the same sound pressure level as a 30.
Yes, we're going to look at a makeshift sound pressure level meter that I've set up with a microphone and a recording level meter, and it will tell us when we've got the same amount of volume in the room from one speaker to the other, and we're going to run tones through it, and you'll see that in order to get the same, or at least close to the same volume level as the 30-inch speaker, that the 15-inch speaker has to be working twice as hard, moving twice as far with twice as much power coming into it.
Now, how about these large concert systems that have several 15-inch speakers as bass drivers?
Probably the most common one is a cabinet that has 4 15-inch speakers in it. And of course they have to be wired in a series and parallel arrangement. And finally you require about 1,000 watts just to run the one cabinet. So it becomes another demonstration of using too small of a speaker.
And with the 30-inch speakers, which clearly these large concert sound companies could easily move around, because they're used to moving large pieces of equipment anyway. They could replace 4 15-inch speakers with one 30-inch speaker?
That's right, and they should too. And eventually this new speaker that I've designed that's twice as large approximately, I don't want to tell exactly what the size of it is because that's a very carefully calculated secret at this time. That particular speaker is the one that I have on the drawing board and would like to get the money in order to bring it out into the stereo stores so that the people who would like to preserve their hearing may be able to do that.
Have you had problems getting the speaker out into the public view?
It seems like the bureaucracy never ends. Not too long ago on Cable News Network, Dr. James Snow from the National Institute of Health was on, telling parents they should warn their children to get away from the source of loud music. Well, I wrote to Dr. Snow, and not only wouldn't he answer me, months went by. And finally, I received this letter here. He turned it over to Gail Blatt, the information specialist, to answer me. Because our mandate directs us to support biomedical and behavioral research and research training, your proposal will be more appropriately addressed to another agency. Information on other agencies and available of National Guide in Funding and Health. This publication can be found in large reference libraries. We hope this information will be helpful. And they sent along a booklet here that tells basically the same thing what I was just explaining to you. How it is that the systems hurt the hearing, but they don't say about doing anything about it. And that's what I'm talking about.
Well, that's the bureaucratic nature of the government. They'll point their fingers, but they won't solve the problems.
Precisely. We'll hear about Lexington and Quincy and Haverhill all getting plenty of money in order to have new products come along. And here's one that we desperately need, much more so than the $1 million the National Institute of Health gave Georgia Southern Central University to take care of a jar of dead ticks in formaldehyde. They gave them $1 million because the Smithsonian no longer had room for it.
Of course, we have the animal rights people. Those animals have rights, after all.
Well, they're
or so they think.
They maybe used to have rights when they were living.
Again, that's the problem with the government. They tend to give more money to animal rights than to human rights.
Yes, that's right. They thought more of the 10,000 dead ticks than they did of my anti-deafness speaker. And something is wrong there.
And if any of our viewers are interested in contacting you and finding out more information about safe sound systems, how can they get in touch with you?
They should write to me, Jeffrey St. Lawrence, at 10 Laurel Street in Northampton, Massachusetts, 01060-3634, or they can call at area code 413-584-9544.
Well, Jeff, this certainly has been interesting.
Thank you very much.
I want to thank you for being on the big program, and I've learned a lot here. There's a lot more to sound than what most people think.
You're a great host.
And you're welcome back on the program anytime.
Thank you. I hope you'll have me back.
Yes, Jeffrey St. Lawrence. And might I add that after we taped the segment, we actually went in and compared the two speaker systems, and the 15-inch speaker it was just pushing air around, making no sound at all other than a little fluttering sound. But that 30-inch speaker amazingly was emitting clear bass tones. Well, hopefully someday all sound systems will be like this. And speaking of good sound...
Oh, gee, I don't know, George. We might not have time.
But we might not have time. Well, can he play a quick version of it? Well, we'll give him a shot. Okay, here's Jimmy Sturr and the Jimmy Sturr Band and a quick Fiddlin' Fever.
Frankie Urbanovich, Gene Bartkevich, Dennis Corman, Skippy Bierstein, and Dennis Kenny Reed.
We're done. We must leave the air now because we have important things to do. Good night, everyone.
We pledged our allegiance to it when we were young. We studied its importance when we were in our teens. We sing its praises at every sporting event. We display it when we celebrate, lower it when we mourn, and honor our heroes with it when they've fallen. It stands for what we are and what we believe in. How we treat it says a lot about us.